I'll kick it off. Welcome everyone. I know some folks will join us over the next few minutes. Welcome to Family Business Friday, our Zoom at noon program. As you can see, we were a normal Zoom call. We've converted it to a webinar because we've gotten so much participation, and I want to thank you all for that. I'm Dr. Dale Caldwell. I'm a professor and executive director of the Fairleigh Dickinson University Rothman Institute of Innovation and Entrepreneurship. And I am very excited to have Donna Miller, who's a friend and president and founder of the C3 Workplace. Donna, welcome.
Thank you. Delighted to be here, Dr. Caldwell.
Well, we always have great conversations, and I'm looking forward to that. As always, I like to begin with a few slides to set the stage and introduce people to the Rothman Institute. So our mission, as you can see, is to research, promote, and support entrepreneurship with a special focus on family and veteran businesses. We would not exist without our foundation, our sponsors, the charitable TD Bank Charitable Foundation, Provident Bank, SunTrust, CIA&J, who've really been behind our family business program. We have a number of other sponsors for our veterans programs. Our focus over the last 30 years has been student entrepreneurship programs. I actually teach a course called Family Business Management at Fairleigh Dickinson University. We have a Family Business Alliance where we bring together family businesses from around New Jersey to really talk about the issues and support the largest segment of the global business world. We have these Family Business Awards. This coming year will be our 28th year in which we honor the best family businesses in New Jersey. Our Veterans Launching Ventures program has been around 10 years, where we help veterans and family members of veterans develop business plans or grow their businesses. And we have a small business series where we talk to a number of different outstanding business leaders like Donna Miller and others. The Family Business Week, which falls under, is that on the fourth week in October, we created something called Family Business Week, almost like Small Business Saturday, where we're encouraging people. We encourage them every day, but especially that week, to identify and support a family business. And so this year will be particularly special because of what we're going through, but also it's the midst of an election. So we're really going to say we're nonpartisan, but say shop family. You know, the whole idea is to vote family by supporting family businesses. We did a website called Shop Family NJ to really help people support family businesses with index cards. And we really have revamped our YouTube page under Rothman Institute of Entrepreneurship. We have a number of videos, this video and others, to help people through the crisis. So if you're looking for some guidance, go to youtube.com and the Rothman Institute of Entrepreneurship. Obviously, our Family Business Fridays, I believe this is our 6th week that we've had incredible speakers. We've really been blessed to have that. And we also are doing a small business poll. We're really trying to be a voice of small businesses. We encourage everybody to sign up. I know you're taking a lot of different polls, but this is by our FDU Rothman, FDU polling group. This is the kind of poll that gets the ear of the governor and legislators. So if you haven't signed up and you have fewer than 100 employees, please sign up and answer the 8 or so questions that we have there. And then this sign is all too familiar, which is why we're here today talking, this whole idea of the closed businesses. I like to show these, and I show these every week because the new unemployment claims, and this chart really speaks volumes, because in 2009, towards the end of the heat of the crisis, there were 700,000 people unemployed. As you can see now, that crisis, which was horrible at the time, pales in comparison to the 30 million or so unemployed people who are here. And why is this important to us? It's important because what this is saying is that unemployment is coming from small family businesses. And so you look at the weekly claims, more than 36 million people are unemployed. And those are largely at the small businesses. So you all know that. We're preaching to the choir. We're trying to let the powers that be understand that. And these are the actual numbers. There were about 14% of the country is unemployed. And then this chart speaks volumes to say that when you look at the breakdown of small businesses, almost 70% are under 100 employees, 20% are between 100 and 499, and only 10% are big businesses. So this is why it's so important to talk to Donna Miller, who is president and founder of C3 Workplace, who is really a brilliant tactician when it comes to marketing, operations, and finance. She's extraordinarily organized. And Donna, welcome. And really, from here on, it's your show. I'm going to stop sharing, and then. So tell me what's keeping you up at night as you look to advise all these businesses?
Well, those unemployment numbers are kind of scary. I think we're all dealing with uncertainty at a scale that I've never encountered before. In C3 Workplace, we've been in business for 25 years. We've helped thousands of companies to start and grow. And when this first happened, I have to say that I always look back historically to try and plan what the future will be. And I was looking at the financial impact that 2008, 2009 had, preparing to weather the storm. But this is a different storm. This is going to be, in my opinion, a protracted, a long storm. So I will be very honest, there isn't too much that keeps me up at night. Thank goodness, that's my faith. But I think like everyone on this webinar today, I think we all spent those first 4 to 6 weeks at this intense level looking at our finances and going after the PPP and the EIDL and all the different things that were available to us. And as an organization, we certainly line by line went through expenses and said, okay, what can we do? For me, I didn't need to let anyone go. So we're still fully staffed. And because we have for many years now run an organization that is both on-site and remote, moving to remote really wasn't a big issue for us technologically.
Right.
I think the thing that I'm seeing people encounter at this point, both within my own team, and I have 10 people that work for me. I think you call us micro businesses. I have 10 people on my team, but it's my team and it's our clients. It's the disconnected part is becoming the difficult part. You can get most of your work done, but I think we need to continue to work on how do we engage. We're about creating experiences, telling stories. How do we do that in a way that moves beyond what, you've probably all heard the term Zoom fatigue.
Right, exactly. And again, you are extraordinary at really identifying tools that are very helpful. Even before this crisis, you were always, what tools are you finding to be most helpful as you're dealing with the new reality?
That's a great question. First of all, we, having been a remote team for quite some time, we are big Office 365 fans. All our data has been on SharePoint for quite some time. But the communication tool of Teams or Slack, whatever chat you want to use, we're finding that communicating via Office 365 Teams to be very effective. We've been using Zoom for a long time. And we also are, during this time, like I'm sure many of you who are watching this webinar, revisit your standard operating practices, make sure they're documented, up your skill level. We're creating all kinds of content. I just finished recording. We're doing a segment, a series of probably a 10-part series on QuickBooks Online tips and tricks. So embrace video, embrace some sort of online chat, but, pick up the phone and do things kind of old school as well. I think we have to mix it up.
Well, again, I mean, you have a co-working space. You're renting out space. You're doing webinars. You're doing all sorts of information. Mm-hmm. What are you finding to be most helpful to people as they sit and talk to you and say, Donna, that changed the way I do business? What?
Well, I think that what people really need right now is connection. So we have made it a point to reach out to our client base on a regular basis, We communicate every 7 to 10 days by email. In fact, my last email said, hey, it's me again, over communicating. But in my opinion, there's never been a greater time to over communicate. But we're reaching out, talking to them. They're very grateful to be connecting. And we have been developing some tools based on the feedback that we're hearing. And, you know, you talked about the fact that we're really organized, and we are wicked good at what we do. We're extremely organized. And so one of the tools that we've created, and I'll put a link to this in the chat window, and I'll show it on the screen later, but we've created an operational assessment. Okay. We're really encouraging our clients to take a look from a high level. What are you doing in the main pillars of your business? Finance, operations, team, business development. And we ask a series of questions that help you to see where your strengths are and where there might be opportunities for improvement. So we're helping people take a fresh look operationally, but also we've created an awesome cash flow tool, because as much as we are QuickBooks certified pros, and we do a tremendous job with bookkeeping, QuickBooks Online, and I don't even think desktop, has a great cash flow tool. So we took it upon ourselves to create one externally. So we're offering tools to our audience. We're offering pro bono consulting. You know, we're doing what we can to be what I think we all need to be, which is solution oriented.
There's no other option right now. I mean, you really, and so, you know, some folks, you know, we spent the last few weeks talking about the PPP, the EIDL, you know, some people got money, other people didn't have money. Doesn't matter whether you did or didn't, you're struggling.
Right.
So this whole financial issue, you've gotten money. Let's take both scenarios. You've gotten your money. What do you do? You know, we're hearing track, record, make sure you have, what do you do?
Okay. So financially, I don't do our bookkeeping. So I know just enough to be dangerous. What we did was we applied for and got our PPP. We have created a separate account to keep it in. We are tracking our expenses against it. Terry Goldman, who is my operations manager, she is working to stay informed of what the forgiveness is. But the truth is, here's one of the things that makes me a little nervous about this whole PPP in the 8-week window. This is not an 8-week situation. This is not an 8-month situation. This is something that I think is going to last years. So for us, we're projecting cash flow a year out, so that we can see when, you know, what resources we'll need when. But right now, even though we got our PPP money, we are watching everything we spend. We are investing wisely and watching what we spend and tracking everything against that PPP, because my sense is that the forgiveness, we're each going to be charged with documenting how we use the money and how we were economically impacted. And we may never have to show that to anyone, except kind of there might be an IRS type of audit. So you have to create that paper trail. We are even tracking how many hours per week, because we are in a time and billing environment, and we use something called T-sheets, which works seamlessly with QuickBooks to track time. We use it to measure profitability on projects, and we help our clients to do the same thing. So we've created a project called COVID, so we can track. I mean, dealing with COVID has taken me, my goodness, those first weeks, it was a full-time job. So we're tracking all of our hours to COVID as well.
So a business that may not have gotten the PPP, or a business that did, but it's still shut down. I just saw on TV a graph. I was trying to get it for my presentation, but I couldn't find it online, showing how retail sales have dropped 16% because of lack of confidence, that this is driven by confidence. So you have a restaurant, or you have some business that has been closed. You know, now's the time to do planning. Now's the time to begin to do that. What advice do you have for those? So that's some of our audience.
Right. Well, my expertise is more in the B2B realm, but I think the same principles apply. So if your clients have are not making decisions to buy, and that's certainly happening. What I am seeing is that the sales cycle has gotten really short. It's kind of either a hell yes or a hell no. There's kind of no middle ground right now. So you're either selling right away or you're not selling at all. So I think what we all need to do during this dip, which is I think what we're experiencing, is go back to some of the basics I mentioned before. Look at your standard operating practices. Are they documented? What, if you are a retail or a restaurant, can you be creating any content that you can use later? But I think the thing that all of us should be doing, and we're doing it right now, is identifying who our centers of influence are and connecting with our centers of influence. Because one of the silver linings of what's going on right now is that you are likely to get face time with people that you otherwise might not get FaceTime with. So the goal right now is to work really hard to do as much branding. And to me, center of influence is branding. Having this conversation with you is branding. Being in front of this audience is branding. So it's incumbent upon each of us, restaurant, retail, B2B, to do as much branding as we can so that when the faucet starts to turn back on, and it will, you will be top of mind and you will be known for bringing value during a time when people were desperately looking for that value. So I don't think there's ever been a more important time to, what we've done internally is I've gone from myself largely being responsible for branding and business development. I have 4 people on my team working on business development. There's the bandwidth to do it right now. And so we are dividing and conquering. And last year we had an employee retreat in October, and it was great. We all read this book called The One Thing. I highly recommend you all read The One Thing. It's Gary Keller, as in Keller Williams.
Okay.
And it is a way, we've all heard of the Pareto principle. The Pareto principle says 20% of what you do will drive 80% of your results. The One Thing takes it a step further and think in terms of a domino. What can you do that by doing so makes everything else unnecessary or unimportant? Think domino. You hit that first domino and everything goes down. Right. So the One Thing is a goal setting and planning methodology that really helps you to stay insanely focused. This retreat was all about the One Thing. From the retreat, my team wrote the strategic plan for 2020. And we certainly hit a bump in the road with COVID, but I said this to you when we were preparing for this call. In my opinion, everything is different, but everything is the same. Right. Sound business development, building relationships, building your brand, building centers of influence, that should be at the core of marketing for everyone. I think the difference now is it's urgent. You can't be a deer in the, you can't be in a place of paralysis right now. We all have to be moving and moving quickly.
So I want to stay, but we're getting a couple of questions. And for those on the line, as you said, we're doing webinars now. Because we've had so many people interested in here, we're doing the webinars, but please feel free to send in the chat button any questions that you have. I want to stay on that branding thing for a while because, we even see it with the Rothman Institute. I mean, we had little national things, but we're becoming national. I mean, this call has people from all over the country listening in. One of the reasons the webinar, but we're also our Veterans Launching Ventures. We're starting a national program to help veterans, and we have Ohio, and we've had California, and so on. So where brand is really, Rothman is becoming really national. It's amazing to me how few businesses can define their brand. And now's a chance to really do that. And so I want to take it back a step. So if you're a business and never really thought about your brand, you're a family business, you've been here forever, how do you go about that? What's kind of the first step in developing your brand?
That is a great question, Dale. In my humble opinion, I would start off by encouraging everyone on this webinar, and those of you who are on the webinar that know me have heard me say this, I want to encourage you to watch an 18-minute TED Talk by Simon Sinek called How Great Leaders Inspire Action. One of you can type that in the chat window for everyone else. But here's the thing. In my opinion, And this is what Simon Sinek says. He says that people do business with why you do what you do more so than what you do. And culture is built on why. That's how C3 Workplace has done this. C3 stands for Connect, Collaborate, Community. It's how we do what we do.
Okay.
We provide office space, virtual assistants, bookkeeping, and business growth services. That's what we do. But why we do what we do is because we believe companies should be a force for good. And we believe small business, as we're all seeing, is the backbone of this country. Ooh. So branding, yes, Delia. So I'm going to repeat it. If someone can type it into the chat window. It's by Simon Sinek, SIMON SINEK, and the TED Talk is called How Great Leaders Inspire Action. So the process of beginning to get clear on your branding, in my opinion, is getting clear on why you do what you do. Because you need to, so we teach, I have a program I teach called Earn More, and we go through 4 pillars. We go through your mission, values, vision. If you don't have a documented mission, values, vision statement, that is the cornerstone for your branding. What do we do? What do we stand for? Where are we going? It's a really short version of mission, values, vision. So beginning branding is getting clear on that. And then, making sure that you are getting your message out to the world in a way that will connect with the people who believe what you believe. So how I have been working on my branding, and you get into bandwidth issues. I mean, it's been, whoo, what a pace it's been the last however many weeks it's been. I'm working more hours. I'm the work-life integration gal. I have no work-life integration at the moment, but that's okay. We're doing okay. So I have been doing videos twice a week. I do 2 videos a week. They are all messages of hope, because I firmly believe that every adversity has a silver lining, and smart people will find the good and the opportunity in these situations. So for me, I look at COVID and I think, well, this is going to be a challenge. But as someone who has been providing virtual assistance for 25 years, it's great because nobody's going to tell me it can't be done remotely anymore. Exactly. So, I think we have to look for the silver lining. And so for me, that's why my branding has been on a message of hope. Hope, and I think, passion and inspiration is all really important. But for me, hope is in the form of strategy. Hope is in the form of execution. Hope is in the form of being focused on that which will truly drive your business forward. So I think we all have an opportunity right now to clarify our brand, and people are looking for connection. Maya Angelou says, people will not remember what you said or what you did. They will remember how you feel. Right. Call your clients, talk to people, show up every day and try to be of service.
Well, and that's a great answer. And even for those that are individuals or sole proprietors, branding is the name. You have to brand yourself. If you're looking for a job, you have to brand yourself. So it's amazing that people don't realize that now. One of the things, and I'll as just to build on what you just said, I've really been blessed in that I had heard that story about Dr. Laura Breen, the head of the emergency room in New York Hospital, who survived COVID, was in Virginia recovering, committed suicide. This is a person who's just a beautiful inside, outside person you wouldn't expect. And so I created this self-reflection matrix that a number of magazines have picked up and others, where you ask people, are you going from the panic zone to the awareness zone to the success zone? Just asking questions. I'm being very negative, so I'm in the panic zone, or I'm aware of my bad emotions or self-destructive behavior, or I'm trying to help other people. And so those kinds of things are really important. I'll send that to you, and I'll send it to you.
That's great.
But I don't put that out. I put that out there because it was amazing to me how many people need a tool to really get out of the funk. And one of the challenges is people said, Donna, this is all fine and good branding, but I'm so stressed now. I can barely pay my bills. How can I work on this? Because I can't think straight. Do you have any, and I know you're one of the best read business leaders I've ever met. If you want to know about a good publication, Donna Miller is the right person. So how do you help people deal to get out of the funk to even begin to think about branding and some of the things we're talking about?
That's a great question, Dale. And I think that is, to me, what I think wave 3 of this COVID is going to be. First is medical, second is economic, and I think third, there is going to be a pretty significant mental health impact. And I think that it's going to be different for every person, how they find their way out of that. For me, I have very deep roots in my faith, and that helps me tremendously. But I also think that there's very simple things that each of us can do to get out of that funk. And it could be as simple as, exercising every day, moving every day. When it's nice out, get outside. It's been awful being stuck home. When I walk in my town now, it's, you have to cross the street because there's so many people walking. Each one of you have had points in your life where something made you feel good, something made you feel better than you previously felt. Think about, what is it for you? Is it a walk in the park? Is it a couple hours sitting on the beach? And it's absolutely surrounding yourself with the right people. I say this all the time, business and personal. You have to sit at the right table. I mean, almost every great inspirational leader will tell you that you are the sum total of the 5 people you hang out with the most. So who are you hanging out with? What are you feeding your mind with? I firmly believe our thoughts become our things. So if you're listening to, Tiger King on Netflix, which, okay, I admit I watched it. Okay, it's a little bit of bubble gum for the brain, but you might want to switch over to something that's a little more inspirational and feel good. So it could be a business book. I mean, I'm doing crossword puzzles. I'm watching the Metropolitan Opera broadcast a free opera every night. It's beautiful. Museums are doing virtual tours. I think each person has to find their way. And for me, and I guess this is a theme of my life, failure is not an option. Period. Not an option. So I will find my way to a solution. And fortunately, at this point, I've got a few years behind me with some experience that helps me to do that. And I have a fantastic tribe of people. In fact, after this webinar, I have a group of gals that I went to a One Thing conference with, and we are all going to meet socially, responsibly, in person, 6 feet apart. But I need that energy. I need to find my way to my positivity. And I know each one of you can do that as well, but it's a personal choice. And if you really can't find your way out of the funk, I really would encourage you to explore professional help. And there's nothing wrong with that. There are so many online ways and teleways to connect with professionals now. But I do think it's really important that everyone does find the tools that they can pull upon to lift themselves up, because this is going to be a long haul.
It's going to be a long haul, and it's building on it from an economic to a social to an interaction. So the question that's so important is, there is so much great information on, there are all sorts of webinars and calls and articles, and it can be overwhelming. How do you pick? How do you strategize? You put on some amazing stuff. How do you pick what to go to? That's where most people are saying, right now at 12 o'clock on Friday, there are like 10 different things people can go to. So I'm honored that people come here.
Yeah.
But how do you sort it out? How do you strategically figure out what information you seek out?
Well, I think it comes back to that mission, values, vision that informs the strategic plan. So for me, I have my one thing is 3 things. I lead, I produce content, and I do business development. So I work on leadership, business development, and strategic partners. Those are my 3 activities. That's all I try to focus on, because I can't do more than that. And so when I am being bombarded with invitations, which we all are, I think you quickly learn which ones are the best use of your time. Clearly, this is a great group. I have a CEO group that I participate in almost every Tuesday morning. I get great information. I like the events where it's an exchange of information. And so I think that you have to realize that you cannot do it all. And until you do a little bit of strategic planning, it's hard to stay focused on that which will raise you up and ultimately drive your business forward.
Wonderful. Now one of our partners on this is Tony Russo, and Tony, Tony, are you on? Can you hear me? I just promoted him to panelist, and so, but Tony, I may ask you if you have any questions from CIA&J and others for Donna. But Tony, and those of you who've been on before, is really one of the key people really advocating for issues around small business. And actually today I was honored to be on the governor's restart panel. I had another meeting, but I got on every Friday. We have a call. So if there are particular issues that anybody has that they really want the governor to hear, about retail, about opening, about other things. I mean, we heard, and some of you may have heard that that the beaches supposedly are going to open next week. Now with safe distancing and so on, but that's good news for so many of us because that's been driving the economy. So with that, you've talked a little bit about pivoting, some of the pivoting you're doing. You want to say some more about that for the business?
Yeah, and I do. And I think, you said, we talked before about right now their business is closed or their business is really slowed down. And we talked a little bit about developing centers of influence. And I really want to come back to that because I think it's critically important, because pivoting, and we've heard the word, pivoting, unprecedented, it's like they're just so overused at this point. But for us, and this will tie it together in an example, when this first happened as a team, we divided. So there's only 10 of us, but we divided. I am all about dividing and conquering, and I think all of you can do that as well. But Terry and I were focused on finances. Kelly and her team were focused on messaging and marketing. And we, as a team, if we believe that companies should be a force for good, we need to live that out loud. So what we decided to do was, okay, we've got some time on our hands. Things got a little quiet, a little quick. So we started offering pro bono consulting. And the first thing we did was we offered complimentary, and we still are offering complimentary Zoom training. Wow. Because everyone had to go immediately to the Zoom platform. And, kudos to Zoom for not completely collapsing.
Exactly.
Holy cow, did they scale.
Yeah.
Right? So we offered pro bono consulting. And in the process of pivoting, one of the reasons you need to be talking to your customers, and I mentioned that we were developing tools. Those tools were developed because we were talking to our customers, hearing what they needed. Mm-hmm. So as we offered this Zoom training, it turned out that it was a big deal. And so we pivoted. And so pivoting is always about my business. My executive coach calls it horizontal growth. Wow. How do you look at what are you currently doing? How can you mix it back up and almost repackage it differently, and using your existing expertise, have something new to offer? To me, that's how we need to pivot today. It's not about something brand new. Right. It's about taking what we already have and providing a solution to a new problem. And so it was funny, through this Zoom training, we're working with a couple of organizations, helping them go solely from face-to-face meetings to holding interactive online meetings. And this is for organizations where the members need their continuing education credits. So not having meetings is not an option. Right, and so we created a package where we're training the presenters, we're training the hosts, we're documenting best practices. So, that's an example of pivoting. And we pivoted because we listened to our clients. And Here's another thing I think that's really important for everyone. I think it's very, very difficult, maybe impossible, to pivot in isolation. If you are a solopreneur, find some colleagues that you can brainstorm with. If you've got a team, there has never been a more important time to invite your team to co-create the solutions. Allowing your team to co-create gives them ownership, and that is skin in the game. And let me tell you, that goes a long way to shifting culture and getting everybody in the team. You know, it's Jim Collins. Get the right people on the bus in the right seats, get them all rowing in the same direction. I really, truly believe C3 will come through this stronger than ever.
Yeah, and really, your optimism is contagious, and that's one of the reasons you've been very, very successful.
Well, and just to come back, you know, you talked about branding. The currency of branding is influence. Influence converts to dollars. So this is your path to more revenue. And very often branding and influence takes time. You have the time.
Well, and you have the time, but also pay attention to, you know, to what opportunities are out there. You know, one of our clients is a manufacturing company, and I did planning work for them. And one of the things we said is you have too many eggs in one basket. You're working in the same industry, and they tried to get into the healthcare industry, couldn't get into the healthcare industry, and then the crisis comes. And all of a sudden, they're making test kits and other things, and they're already planning to expand next year. And so those who are in a business need to open their mind to think about
absolutely
business. And I don't know.
Absolutely.
Well, I know you've done it with yourself.
And there's two tools that I like to use, and I love to give action tips. And by the way, we probably said this, but feel free to type questions into the Q&A or the chat window. This is a loose conversation, and if you want to interject something, we're happy to address your questions. But two things I love: Fast Company magazine. Love this magazine. It is innovative. Everything in there is something new and cutting edge. Even the advertisers are new and cutting edge. And I think for those of you who are trying to find a new perspective or trying to pivot, or you've been doing what you've been doing for a while, just like we have to find tools to pull ourselves out of a funk, you have to stay innovative. I don't care if it's COVID, 2008, or the great economy of, what did we just finish? 2019. Mm-hmm. So Fast Company is something that I read every month to help me see what's going on in the world. And I love the entrepreneurial spirit of this company. Look at the products that have been introduced just in the last 8 weeks to help us cope with some of the things that we now have to cope with, whether it's, you know, how to open a door without using your hand or all these different things. But the other tool that I use in my content, I use this to determine email subject lines. I use this to determine names of events. I use this to name blogs. It's Google Trends. Google Trends, okay. If you go to Google Trends, you can compare phrases. So if I want to talk about thought leadership or influence or personal branding, I can type those 3 phrases into Google Trends, and it tells me which one is actually trending. So it's a tool to, in my opinion, innovate, because pivoting is innovation, and nimble companies are the ones that will survive this.
So let's, you know, one of the things, I did a webinar for the Metuchen Chamber, and they had a series of things coming up. One was talking about websites. You know, a lot of people have never had to pay much attention to their website, you know, their local business, you know, then website, and then social media and other things. And I've gotten a few questions about that. So talk to me about websites. What should people be doing with websites, and then what should they be doing with their social media now?
That's a great question. And I think it's the same answer for all 3. Mm-hmm. People want an experience. So we need to make them feel an experience. We need to be able to convey our story when they visit our website, when they see our social media posts, when they hear us talk. it should be a clear, and this is where branding, I mean, this is the basics of branding. They should all look the same. You know, you have a logo, you have a look, you have some colors. So I think that it's about user experience. And I think that we redid our website in 2019 so that we could create a better user experience. I think the world of digital is here to stay in a bigger way. I think one of the things, I'm not a marketing expert. I'm a better than average marketer, business owner. I think I heard a speaker say once that every business owner is first a marketer and then second, whatever it is they do, which, you know, I think that's probably true. But I think that, you know, our job is to make them feel something as we tell a story. I think digital is here to stay in bigger ways. I think one website tool that we've started using are specific landing pages, so that when you're saying something on social media and you're telling them to go to your website, they're landing on a page that talks specifically to what you were talking about in social media. And that's actually not very difficult. It's not a terribly sophisticated idea. You can create another page on your website pretty easily, but it's marketing with a scalpel and really trying to stay on message and talk to the specific target market.
Mm-hmm. I'm looking, we have a long question here.
Okay.
About, well, I'll ask a couple and I'll come back.
Okay.
It's a long, and I've got a few private questions. So when you look at the landing page and you said the social media and really the experience, I think that's so important. You know, how, you know, there's always a question of short words, pithy words, or video. You know, how do you strategically use video in what you're doing?
Well, I use both.
Mm-hmm.
And the reason I use both is because I think, well, the statistics on video are overwhelmingly favorable. The human brain can process picture 70% faster than text. Mm-hmm. So if you're not using video, and honest to goodness, DIY is 100% okay these days. Mm-hmm. So we use video, but we also, and this is, you know, again, a marketing thing, but, you know, we know what our keywords are. So we're staying focused on our keywords. When we do video, here's another tip for you. Go to a site called I think it's rev.com. And if I get that wrong, I'll correct it. But for $1 a minute, they transcribe it. Mm-hmm. So I get my video transcribed. I clean it up a little bit. I being someone on my team or someone you outsource to. Yes, we can do that. Okay. But you take that video and you put it on your YouTube channel, which again, easy to do, but YouTube now has as many searches and is growing and will surpass Google in where people are searching for information. So the video is important, but the transcript and you put that into the description on the YouTube video page, so you get the best of both worlds. And I think short videos are really, yeah, they say, I don't know, 7 seconds. If you don't have their attention in 7 seconds, they're gone. Right. So, yeah.
In fact, Susan put on www.rev.com.
And they do a great job.
Yeah, there you go. What I was reading is Mike Krieger has a great point, and Mike, I thought of this too when I was at the Governor's Restart Commission this morning. Is he talks about taxes, and he says one of the reasons that Amazon was able to be successful is because they weren't paying state taxes. And you know, I worked with Debbie Schaefer from Mrs. G's to actually say, hey, that's unfair because Amazon is selling. She has the appliance store, Mrs. G TV and Appliances in Lawrenceville. And they had to pay sales taxes. So you buy on Amazon, you don't have to pay it. So it wasn't competitive, and they do that now. And so one of the things are small business taxes. And so I'm not asking you to respond as much, and probably more a question for me, but yeah. I think you're absolutely right that if we can, you know, they have the urban enterprise zones where they pay half the sales tax. maybe we have a small business enterprise zone where you pay half the sales tax or something. One of the things that I think it's important for people to understand is that, and I submitted an article, we'll see if it's published in one of the business magazines, is that we have a cyclical problem, is that state and local governments don't have money for small businesses because small businesses aren't making the profits to pay the taxes so that they have the money to pay small businesses. So it's a cyclical problem. And so one of the things that I've said, that there are some New Jersey certifications, and one is a veteran certification. If you're a veteran business, you can become a New Jersey certified business. If you're a woman-owned business, you can become a New Jersey certified business. If you're a minority business, and you need to do that as quickly as possible, because one of the things that I'm pushing, a way that you can actually fund small businesses, is because I took the example I gave of the 3 largest school districts, and actually 2 of the 3 largest school districts, Jersey City, Newark, and Camden, have a $2.1 billion budget. If they spent just 5% on New Jersey certified busing, food service, janitorial, if that would be $150 million infused into the business. So that's money that's going to be spent. What happens, and I'm vice president of the New Brunswick School Board, so I know this very intimately. You don't think about it. You bring the company from Ohio, you give them business that a local business could do if we start doing that. So I'm not necessarily asking you to comment, but Mike, I think you have a great point. And I think we need to really encourage buying New Jersey and really supporting New Jersey. And so all of you then, and as small business people, we need to live that. We need to go out of our way to the local pizza place rather than the national chain based in Chicago.
I agree.
And so again, but we need to be vigilant about that. And that's what I'm saying. We're pushing the poll. We've been disappointed. We haven't had as much of a response in people responding. But small businesses, I will ask you to comment on this, small businesses need to kind of get out of their shell, know their legislators, talk to people, and be very active in the community. One of the things that, and I used to be the Deputy Commissioner of Department of Community Affairs, a state official, is that you had big businesses and you had unions who would yell and scream and the legislators would listen to them. Small businesses was like crickets. Nobody heard anything from them, which is why they were taken aback that small businesses really control the jobs in this country. So I don't know if you want to say something about that as we...
Well, I have to say that I have always been politically agnostic. I have not been involved, but I believe that the organizations that we belong to and the organizations that we support, I know Tony's group, Tony's organization is a voice for small business. I'm on the board of the Morris County Chamber of Commerce, and we absolutely have a voice in Trenton. And so I think for me, doing everything that I'm doing to run my company and to be a resource for other people, you get into bandwidth issues. So I think that not only do we, and you're right, we should get certified, and there is business to be had out there from government agencies, but I think we also have a voice, a political voice through the organizations that we belong to. And those organizations, I think, are acutely aware of that. And they do realize that that's a big part of what their function is and what they're doing for their members.
Yep. Tony, you should be able to unmute yourself. I know you have been really my role model in reaching out and being very active. Are you able to speak?
Technical difficulties.
Well, I'll make him a host. Tony, are you there? Can you speak? So you should be able to unmute yourself now. But anyway, while we're doing that, so this is very much about people, and so small businesses live and die by the quality of the people that they have on their team.
Absolutely.
And now they've been forced to have to furlough people or other things. And so how do what do you do? What do you do to say you had to furlough people? And there are, in the defense, there are some beneficial furloughs where there are people who are making more money because of the $600 kick-in. They're actually making more money. And that's been a challenge at the same time. But some people don't want to come back to work because they're making more money with unemployment and this stuff. What are you advising folks?
Well, you brought this up when we were preparing to talk, and I think it goes to across the board. If you have to furlough people, and I mean I've had to let people go. It's there are situations that are uncomfortable, but we have to remember that sometimes we have to make hard decisions for the greater good. So, furloughing a few people might save a few dozen people. I think we have to do it with compassion. I think, again, it's communication. It's, do you have some resources you can offer them? And, I have to say this unemployment situation is kind of, when you said to me, some companies are having a hard time getting their people to come back because they're making more money on unemployment. That was like a little bit of a shock to me because I've just built a very different culture. I would be really surprised if that would happen here. But, I thought of a couple of things. First of all, the truth is, if you're offered a position and you don't accept it, you're actually not eligible for unemployment. And apparently, I asked a few colleagues this, and there's actually a new form because of this situation where employers are being asked to report just that. If you're offering someone their position back and they're saying, I'm kind of digging this unemployment, they are probably jeopardizing their unemployment. But the truth is, silver lining, there is so much talent out there. If you have people who aren't coming back because they're making more on unemployment, it's a very short-sighted decision, and maybe that's a blessing in disguise.
Right. That they didn't want to come back, and so we've dealt with that, and so as you look at and as because you hear like we do, I mean, a lot of the challenges that folks are dealing with. One of the biggest ones is obviously cash flow. They don't have cash flow, but the other is they don't have cash flow, but the expenses continue.
Right.
They're continuing to pay their rent or mortgage and other things. And so how do you, you talked about planning, but what do you do? How do you deal with that?
Yeah. I mean, I guess it's different for each person. I think, what we did as an organization is we went line by line. We looked at, what we could live without, what would definitely come out right away, what would come out if it had to. I'll revisit that periodically. I mean, truthfully, have conversations with your vendors, have conversations with your landlords, have conversations with your mortgage company. I've heard it said that we're not all in the same boat, but we're all in the same storm. And again, I feel like a broken record, but I think it does come down to communication. I mean, I certainly have had, I own in Sparta, I rent in Montclair. I've had conversations with my landlord, my tenants, some people you have good conversations with and you work something out, and then sometimes people are unreasonable and you can't work it out. And we, I've always been a huge proponent, and maybe this is, I often say that I believe financial literacy is probably your number one business superpower. You have to know your numbers. You have to know your data. If you don't have that ability, you need to hire that ability. We have always been budget minded. We know what our numbers are. I've not been a person that lived beyond my means. I think societally, very often we have. And I have to say, one of the most, and I hope there isn't anyone, I'm not going to use it. One of the most disheartening things that I've seen is there is a coffee shop in my town on the highway that needs a police officer to manage the line so that these people can buy $6 coffees. That is a sad state of affairs as far as I'm concerned.
Well, and I mean, I think that's a great, it's a great point in so many ways. I mean, I think we need to rethink America. I mean, we really need to rethink America. We really need to, what's convenient. And what I've been saying for a long time, that it's okay to save a few dollars going online, but if you really look at the numbers, and I think Debbie Schaefer again reminded me of this, that 70% of the money you spend with New Jersey businesses stays within New Jersey. You buy it online from a big retailer, that disappears immediately. Well, why do you care if it stays in New Jersey? Well, that impacts your taxes. So you may save, a few bucks on this product, but we need to begin to think more locally, think and act locally with businesses and business owners. The other thing that I'm learning is that so many of the multi-generational businesses have been very quiet. They don't want to talk to anybody. They want to, they're to themselves and they've been successful. Those days are gone. You really have to talk to everybody. You have to talk to, as you talk, the people who own your property, that you have to talk to your legislator. You have to talk to your banker. One of the things that's coming out thing is the people that had relationships with their bankers got checks.
Absolutely.
Are still waiting.
Yep.
And it is about relationships. And so we really begin to.
And I totally agree with, I agree with buying local. And I think one of the challenges that's happening right now is Home Depot's open, Lowe's is open, but the local hardware guy might not be. In the middle of all this, my 22-year-old, no joke, washer broke. That wasn't even worth calling a repair person over. So I said to my husband, let's go up to Home Depot. And then I thought to myself, no, I'm not going to Home Depot. I went to my little Pequannock appliance. Took me 15 minutes. I was in, out, done. And I was so happy to spend my money locally. And I think that's really important. And I think that as humans, we have a great capacity to forget. And that serves us well when we're talking about trauma. But I don't think it serves us well when we see all the good things that are happening right now, family time and walks and bicycles. And I just really hope that these lessons have shelf life beyond this economic interruption.
Now, I don't know if you wanted to share your slides in the last few minutes or.
Yeah, so I mean, I really, let me share my screen real quick and just, I'm all about, I show up today to share what's worked for me, and hopefully some of you will take something away that you can put into action. I do not believe knowledge is power, applied knowledge is power. So I hope you picked up a few tips from this conversation with Dale and I that you can put into place. But I did want to say a couple words. C3 Workplace, that's how you'll find us on the web. As I mentioned before, we provide space support and education to help companies start and grow. It's really hard to do it in isolation. We know, data shows us that when you get outside help, there's never been, you have to take a look at what you're doing now and saying, is DIY and cheap really serving me, or getting it right the first time? And we help our clients to get it right the first time. We work with startups, entrepreneurs, and growing teams. As I mentioned, we provide virtual assistants, bookkeeping, business growth consulting, office space. But for us, it's really about creating community and creating that connectedness. We are a go-to resource. We pride ourselves on really being able to help our clients connect with all that they need to grow. And I mentioned earlier, and this is an offer to all of you, we have created a 24-point operational assessment. And Dale, maybe if you do an email follow-up, you can include this link. Mm-hmm. But our offer at the moment to all of you is go to this landing page. There you go. You'll see a little video and text. I always do what I say. And it's a brief assessment that you can take. You'll answer several questions. We will then schedule a 30-minute consult with you to review it and make recommendations so that you can work smarter, not harder, and you can find your opportunities for growth in this present state of uncertainty. So Dale, I want to thank you for having me here today.
Well, Donna, thank you. I mean, it's just a wealth of information. This is being recorded, so we will share this with other folks. As always, we try to end on time. I've gotten a lot of great questions. I want to thank you all for the questions. You can reach Donna Miller at that address. You can reach us at rothman@fdu.edu. Thank you all for your time. Have a wonderful weekend. And again, we're going to be doing this format. There are a lot of people thought pictures were distracting and other things, so we're doing the webinar format. I know some may like it, others may not like it, but and we have some amazing guests coming up ahead of us. So
yes, thank you, Dale. I really appreciate being here. And if we missed questions, feel free to email me, Donna at C3. I'd be happy to answer your questions.
Excellent. And you can send them to us as well, and we'll make sure to get them to you. So take care. Again, have a great Friday and a wonderful weekend.
Thanks, Dale. Take care, everyone.
Bye-bye. Bye-bye.